So imagine this. It's 2015, and a Polish government official steps up to a microphone and says this, a statement that absolutely electrified the world, suggesting a 70-year-old legend was about to become cold, hard reality.
And this was the claim from two amateur treasure hunters. They weren't just guessing. They were telling the world they had found a ghost from World War II, and that they had irrefutable proof.
Okay, let's dive into the incredible story of the Wałbrzych Gold Train. This is a legend that really blurs the lines between history and, straight-up folklore. We're going to follow the clues and see if we can separate fact from fiction.
Now, our story doesn't actually start back in the rubble of 1945. Nope. It kicks off in August of 2015, with an announcement that started one of the most exciting, most public treasure hunts in modern history. It all begins with these two guys, Piotr Koper and Andreas Richter. Now, as explorers, they were used to digging around underground, but this was different. They went to the Polish government and made a claim that could literally rewrite history books. They said they'd found the ghost train, lost for 7 decades.
What could have just been another wild rumor suddenly blew up into massive international news. And why? Because Poland's own deputy culture minister held a press conference saying he was more than 99% certain the train was real. He even compared finding it to finding the Titanic. Just like that, a local legend went completely global.
So, why all the excitement? I mean, why would the military get involved? To really get it, we have to rewind the clock all the way back to the desperate, chaotic, final days of World War II. You see, this whole thing builds on one of the most powerful legends to come out of the war. Because this was never just about finding an old train, it was about the treasure it was rumored to be carrying. So the local legend goes something like this. As the Soviet Red Army is closing in, the Nazis frantically load an armored train with gold, art, all kinds of plunder. They send it speeding west, into the mountains. The train supposedly chugs into a secret tunnel, and then, poof, it's gone. Never seen again. And we're not talking about just any old cargo here. The rumor was that this train was hauling 300 tons of gold, priceless art, jewels, weapons, just an unbelievable fortune sealed somewhere deep underground. Now, what made this whole story so believable was the grim reality of Nazi plunder. There was a real task force, the ERR, whose entire job was to systematically loot millions of priceless artifacts all across Europe. So the idea of a train stuffed with stolen treasures, it wasn't just folklore. It was based on some very dark historical facts.
And the place where it supposedly disappeared, well, that just adds another layer of mystery. It was called Project Riese, or Project Giant, a massive, top-secret network of tunnels built by forced labor. To this day, historians still argue about what it was for, but one thing's for sure, it was the perfect place to make an entire train disappear from the face of the earth.
So, you've got a totally plausible backstory in the perfect hiding spot. It's no wonder the legend survived for decades. Which brings us right back to 2015. What on earth made Koper and Richter so certain that they were the ones who had finally solved the riddle? Well, they had two things. First, a classic, a supposed deathbed confession from a man who claimed he actually helped hide the train. And second, something more modern, ground-penetrating radar scans that showed this long, train-shaped object buried deep underground. They were so confident, they even filed a legal claim for a 10% finder's fee. So, with the government's permission and cameras from all over the world rolling, Koper and Richter finally got to dig in August 2016. This was it. The moment of truth had finally arrived. And believe me, this was no small dig. First, the Polish military had to come in and sweep the whole area for old mines or booby traps. Then a huge 64-person team, paid for by private sponsors, brought in all this heavy machinery. The excavation began, and they followed those radar maps to the exact spot where the treasure was supposed to be. And after 7 days of digging, what did they find? Absolutely nothing. No train, no tunnel, not even any old tracks. That really promising blip on the radar? It turned out to be, well, just natural ice and rock formations.
An independent team of scientists came in and confirmed it. Their leader, a guy named Janis Madej, had been doubtful from the very beginning. And when the dig came up empty, he didn't pull any punches. He basically said, look, making a mistake is human, but sticking with it is just foolish.
So, the dig was a bust. The train was still a ghost. But you know what? Incredibly, the story doesn't end there.
The failure to find the train actually created a whole different kind of treasure, a very real one.
See, while they didn't find any gold in the ground, the legend struck gold in another way. All that media attention gave the nearby town of Wałbrzych an estimated $200 million in free publicity. Tourism shot up by 44%. As one local official cleverly put it, whether the train is real or not, the gold train has already arrived.
And here's the ironic part. Piotr Koper actually did find a hidden treasure in the end. A few years later, in 2019, he was working on an old palace nearby and uncovered these priceless 16th century wall paintings that were hidden behind plaster. So he found treasure after all, just not the one he was looking for.
But even with the failed dig and the tourism boom, the legend itself, well, it just refused to die. The hunt might have come up empty, but the story was more alive than ever.
The original partnership broke up, but Koper kept searching. And since then, new groups have popped up. There's even a team that secured permits to search a totally new location in 2025. It just goes to show you the pull of a story like this is just too strong to resist.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, right? Is there 300-ton treasure still waiting in some sealed-off tunnel deep beneath the Owl Mountains? Or is it all just a really powerful legend, a story that maybe we all just want to be true? For now, the hunt is far from over.